Chosen one. Listen closely. This message is not coincidence, it is confirmation. You are not losing your mind. You are not broken. You are not behind. What feels like delay has been divine design. Heaven has been working in silence, building something within you that could only be formed away from the noise of the world. Every unanswered prayer, every confusing season, every moment you felt forgotten, none of it was wasted. You've been in preparation, not punishment. You've been in process, not peril. The reason you felt different is because you are. You've been tuned to a frequency that most can't hear. And it's been lonely because few walk at the pace of divine timing. You are not crazy for feeling what others overlook. That sensitivity, that deep knowing, that unshakable sense that you're meant for something greater, it is evidence of divine preparation. God hides his most powerful instruments in obscurity until they're ready to resound. You've been hidden not because you were unworthy, but because you were unfinished. There's a sacred reason heaven has kept you in the shadows. Hidden seasons are holy seasons. They strip you of what is temporary so that only the eternal remains. Every tear has been watering roots. Every silence has been shaping strength. You have not been buried, you've been planted. As the Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 3, I will give you the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that you may know that I, the Lord, am God. These words hold the key to your season. The treasures of darkness are not gold or silver, they are wisdom, endurance, and intimacy with God. You've been learning to see in the dark because He's preparing you to guide others who are still blind. Every hidden trial has been equipping you with treasures that can only be mined through experience. Think about it. Diamonds form in pressure. Pearls form in darkness. And oil flows from crushing. You are not being destroyed. You are being refined into something priceless. The world calls it struggle, but heaven calls it strategy. God has been chiseling away every fear, doubt, and insecurity, so that when your moment comes, you'll rise unshaken. The confusion you've felt isn't chaos, it's construction. Heaven has been rearranging things beneath the surface, aligning you for divine visibility. You've been wondering why nothing seems to fit anymore, why you feel detached from what once satisfied you. That's because your soul has outgrown its old dimensions. You are not breaking down, you are breaking through. Heaven's greatest works are always done in secret. Joseph was hidden in a prison before he ruled in a palace. David was hidden in fields before he sat on a throne. Esther was hidden in the king's court before she saved her people. And you, yes, you have been hidden in plain sight, being molded for a moment the world hasn't seen yet. You've been feeling heaven's pressure, the stirring in your chest, the quiet push toward change. It's not anxiety, it's awakening. The divine is moving you from preparation to presentation. What once felt like silence will soon sound like fulfillment. You'll look back and realize God's hidden hand was guiding every step. Beloved, take comfort. You are not forgotten, you are favored. The world doesn't recognize you yet because heaven hasn't revealed you yet. Timing is everything. Seeds cannot demand to bloom before their appointed season, so rest in knowing. The same God who planted you will make sure you rise when the light is right. Now, if this truth resonates deep in your spirit, If you can feel heaven confirming that the silence has meaning, then honor the moment. Like this message as a signal to heaven that you receive it. Share it with someone still questioning their season of hiding. Subscribe so you remain connected to this flow of divine reminders. And finally, comment 777 below as your declaration that you trust the hidden work of God. For one day soon, the very places that concealed you will become the stages that celebrate you. You'll emerge, not confused, but complete, not crazy, but called, and the world will finally see what heaven has known all along. God has been preparing you in secret for something far greater than you imagined. There comes a moment, chosen one, when heaven seems to grow still, and every prayer you whisper hangs suspended in the air. You look around and see no movement, no signs, no responses. It feels as if even the wind has stopped listening. But this stillness is not rejection, it is refinement. God's silence has never meant his absence. It has always meant his work runs deeper than your senses can perceive. Heaven's quiet is never empty. Beneath the surface of stillness, blueprints are being written, foundations are being set, and your heart is being aligned. God speaks loudest in the silence because the silence clears the stage of distractions. You've prayed for guidance, and what you received was pause. You wanted confirmation, and heaven gave you calibration. You are not forgotten, you are being fine-tuned. The divine delays are never denials, they are adjustments. God quiets the noise around you so you can finally hear what's within you. His voice doesn't always roar, it often hums beneath your breath, waiting for you to be still enough to recognize it. When the world grows loud and restless, remember, heaven never competes with noise. God's voice is like a melody hidden beneath the storm, waiting for you to pause long enough to hear it. The quiet moments you dread are where his guidance hides, gentle and certain, shaping your next divine step. And when your heart aches for movement, trust that the stillness itself is movement in disguise. Every pause has purpose. Every silence holds instruction. God is aligning people, places, and timing beyond what your eyes can see. The unseen orchestration of heaven always favors those who can wait with faith. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Habakkuk. Chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is, yet for an appointed time, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay. This verse is not a promise of idleness, it is an invitation to divine patience. The silence between revelation and manifestation is the sacred ground where faith matures. You are being trained to wait without wavering, to trust even when time tests your endurance. Heaven hides progress until your spirit learns not to panic in the unknown. Think of a seed buried beneath the soil. It doesn't complain about darkness. It understands that growth needs quiet. You are that seed, and God is your gardener. Every silent season is heaven watering your roots unseen. The deeper the silence, the stronger the growth. In this stillness, God is separating noise from necessity. You are learning to recognize his presence, not by volume, but by vibration. By the way, peace suddenly settles over you in the middle of chaos. By the way, your heart knows things your mind cannot explain. The silence has been your training ground for discernment. Do you remember the times you asked for clarity and received confusion instead? That was heaven stripping away false clarity. You were being taught that divine understanding doesn't come from answers, It comes from alignment. When your heart and heaven beat in the same rhythm, direction flows naturally. The stillness may feel endless, but it is never wasted. Heaven does not pause without purpose. While you wait, your endurance becomes armor, your humility becomes foundation, and your hope becomes your anchor. You are learning that faith is not proven by what you receive, but by who you become when nothing changes. There is beauty in the silence. It's where the noise of fear fades, and the melody of faith grows clearer. It's where your dependence shifts from visible signs to invisible strength. Silence trains you to trust God's nature when you can't trace His methods. Look back now. Every season that felt like abandonment was actually alignment. The job that fell through saved you from distraction. The relationship that ended freed you from limitation. The unanswered prayer preserved you for a promise too big for that moment. Heaven has never withheld. It has only waited for readiness. Chosen one. Understand this. You were never waiting for God. God has been waiting with you, waiting for the version of you strong enough to carry what you prayed for. The stillness wasn't God's hesitation. It was His protection. So now, instead of resenting the quiet, learn to rest in it. When life pauses, heaven is speaking in subtler tones. When answers hide, revelation is ripening. The silence is not the end of communication. It is the deep breath before manifestation. You are not forgotten. You are being focused. You are not delayed. You are being developed. The silence you fear is the sacred soil of transformation. Let it work. Let it shape. Let it strengthen. One day soon, when the silence breaks, it will not come as a whisper. It will roar as fulfillment. And you will understand that heaven was never late. It was always right on time. Chosen one. One of the most painful parts of being divinely prepared is being misunderstood. You've tried to explain your heart to people who only hear with logic, not spirit. You've spoken truth that felt too heavy for casual ears. You've been told you're too intense, too sensitive, too deep. But listen, what they call strange, heaven calls sacred. You were never meant to blend into normality because you were never built for it. The world struggles to understand what is forged in heaven's fire. When you walk in divine frequency, you disturb everything built on superficial sound. That's why people have stepped back. Not because you're broken, but because your presence reveals what they've been avoiding. You are a mirror that exposes illusions. Your light reflects truth, and not everyone is ready for reflection. Do not be angry at their misunderstanding. Compassion must replace frustration. They are not your enemies. They are simply unprepared for your clarity. The same light that reveals your purpose also reveals their discomfort. You've spent years asking, why do they reject me? Why can't they see my heart? But now, heaven whispers the answer. You are not meant to be recognized by everyone. Only those aligned with your frequency can truly perceive you. God has hidden you from the unready, not to punish them, but to protect what you carry. The apostle reminds us in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 14. The natural man does not accept the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness to him. He cannot understand them because they are spiritually discerned. None. This is the core of your experience. Spiritual things sound irrational to logical minds. You speak in revelation. They listen in reason. You walk by faith. They walk by evidence. What they call foolishness is actually divine foresight. You're seeing with heaven's eyes. but they're still learning to see beyond the visible. Do not lower your light to make others comfortable in darkness. Every time you shrink, the world loses a little more clarity. You are not responsible for their perception. You are responsible for your obedience. Your role is not to convince, but to carry. You carry peace, presence, and prophetic perspective. That's your gift, and it's holy. God never asked you to fit in. He asked you to follow, and following often leads you away from the crowd. Isolation is not punishment, it's placement. The divine separates before he elevates. He silences the noise so you can hear his call clearly. The misunderstanding of others has been your greatest teacher. It taught you to listen inwardly, to trust the quiet guidance within, and to stop explaining yourself to those who can't yet perceive heaven's movement. Misunderstanding is heaven's way of weaning you off human validation. You have outgrown their approval because you have grown into alignment. That's why conversations now feel hollow and surface level. That's why certain friendships faded without conflict. They simply expired at the frequency of your new assignment. Heaven closed those doors gently because dragging old energy into new seasons kills purpose. Chosen one. Your difference is your divine signature. You don't think differently by accident. You think differently because your mind was wired to birth revelation, not replication. You were not made to echo the world. You were made to announce heaven. And that kind of purpose will always make people uncomfortable before it makes them inspired. But don't let rejection turn into resentment. Let it become reverence. Every person who walked away was a lesson in disguise, reminding you that your value is not measured by who stays, but by who you've become through the solitude. You are a vessel of light. Some will resist it, but others will awaken by it. There will come a time when those who misunderstood you will return, not to apologize, but to seek the wisdom you've gained. When that day comes, open your heart, not your wounds. Let compassion speak louder than correction. For true maturity is when you can love without needing to be understood. And if this message stirs something deep within you, if you felt that same ache of being unseen, unheard, or mislabeled, then let your spirit speak now. Comment, I rise. I. Write it as a declaration, not a complaint. When you type those two words, you're saying, I rise above misunderstanding. I rise beyond rejection. I rise into divine recognition. It's not about arrogance, it's about acceptance, the kind that comes from knowing who you are in God, even when others can't yet see it. Because one day, the very traits they mocked will become the proof that you were chosen. Your discernment will be sought. Your insight will be valued. And your faith will be recognized as wisdom born from walking with heaven. Until then, keep shining. Let the misunderstanding be your mirror. It only reflects how far you've grown. They won't always understand your light, but they will never be able to extinguish it. And that, chosen one, is the mark of one prepared in secret for a purpose beyond explanation. There is a sacred pattern woven through every story of the chosen before revelation comes. There is always concealment. Before elevation, there is always obscurity. You are walking a path familiar to every soul heaven has ever set apart. God hides what he is building until it's strong enough to withstand the weight of being seen. You may not realize it, but the secrecy surrounding your life is divine. The opportunities that slipped through your fingers, the relationships that faded, the plans that never came to pass, all of it was heaven's protection. God was not punishing you. He was preserving you. What you call loss, heaven calls insulation. The treasures he plants within you are too sacred to be handled by unready hands. Hidden seasons are uncomfortable because the world worships visibility. We live in an age that confuses exposure with importance, but God measures greatness differently. In his kingdom, the most powerful things are often unseen, the roots beneath the tree, the foundation beneath the temple, the prayer whispered in secret. In the hiddenness, heaven teaches you the rhythm of restraint. You begin to understand that not every blessing is meant to be broadcast. Not every revelation is meant to be revealed. Some miracles are sacred, designed only for your heart. And God's glory, proof that intimacy with him is its own reward. The voice of heaven reminds us through Matthew, chapter 6, verse 6. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father, who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you openly. This is the principle of divine secrecy. What you do in the dark determines what you can sustain in the light. God has been watching your private obedience, your quiet faithfulness, your hidden surrender. The world might not see it, but heaven has been applauding every small act of faith behind closed doors. Every hidden act has eternal significance. Every time you chose humility over recognition, heaven took note. Every time you forgave in silence, chose kindness over revenge, or worshipped with tears, no one saw heaven recorded it. These moments become the currency of divine reward. When God hides you, it's because he's protecting the promise from contamination. Exposure too early can destroy what isn't fully rooted. Imagine a tree forced to grow without roots. It may bloom for a moment, but will wither at the first wind. Likewise, your hidden years have been God's way of strengthening your foundation. The storms that came weren't meant to expose you, but to test your roots, to ensure that when your season of visibility arrives, you won't fall. There's a purity that only darkness can teach. When no one is watching, motives are revealed. In the quiet, you learn that faith isn't about performance, it's about persistence. You learn to love God, not for the blessings, but for his presence alone. You learn to stay when there's nothing to gain, to believe when there's nothing to see, and to serve when there's nothing to receive. Hidden seasons are heaven's refinement chambers. In them, your dependence deepens, your discernment sharpens, and your endurance stretches. You learn to stop reaching for validation and start resting in value. You no longer crave recognition because you've tasted relationship. It's easy to love God when life rewards you publicly. It's another thing to love him when no one claps. But those who love him in secret are the ones he trusts with his secrets. That's why you've felt isolated. He's been speaking things to you that not everyone can handle. You've been entrusted with revelation that can't be shared until it matures. One day, what was done in secret will be shouted from rooftops, not by your effort, but by divine unveiling. The same God who hid you will reveal you, not as someone who fought for attention, but as someone who stewarded silence well. And when that day comes, you'll realize that the hiding was not delay, it was design. You'll see that the closed doors were redirections, not rejections, that every no was an act of mercy, that every unseen year was an investment in eternal weight. When God reveals what he's been building, the world will marvel at how sudden it seems, but you will know it was years in the making. Hidden seasons are heaven's way of protecting purity before power. If you feel unseen, take comfort. It means heaven still considers you precious. The light will find you when the time is right. And when it does, you will stand unshaken because you were built in secret by the hands of eternity. Chosen one. There are moments when heaven's hand feels heavy upon your shoulder, not as a burden, but as a calling. You can sense it, can't you? That pull to do more, to reach further, to rise higher, not for applause, but for alignment. What you carry is not common. It's light refined in darkness, meant to illuminate lives beyond your own. God has been pouring into you for a reason. The lessons learned in hidden places were never meant to stay there. You've been entrusted with revelation that can heal, words that can restore, and presence that can shift atmospheres. This is not coincidence, it's commission. Heaven has appointed you as a living flame, a messenger clothed in ordinary flesh, but carrying extraordinary purpose. The prophet wrote in Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 25, "A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." End quote. This is not only about material generosity, it's about spiritual circulation. You are part of a divine exchange. Every truth that flows to you is meant to flow through you. The oil multiplies only when it's poured. The blessing increases only when it's shared. You've been chosen not to hoard light, but to release it. Think of your journey like a river. A river that refuses to flow becomes stagnant, but one that gives freely stays fresh. You've been positioned as a channel through which heaven can reach others. When you pour out encouragement, compassion, wisdom, or even kindness, heaven refills you with more than what you gave. That's the divine economy. Giving keeps you growing. This is why what we build together here matters. These words, this moment, this connection, it isn't just digital, it's spiritual. Every story shared, every message sent, every truth spoken here becomes part of heaven's ripple effect, reaching souls who thought they were forgotten. When you like this message, imagine it as adding one more spark to the flame. Each spark joins another until it becomes a beacon bright enough for wandering hearts to find their way home. When you share, you're not promoting content, you're extending light. You're opening a window in someone's darkness, letting hope slip through like morning sun after a long night. When you subscribe, you're not just following a voice, you're staying close to a fire that refuses to go out. You're saying, I choose to keep walking with the light. It's a way of staying connected to a flow of faith that doesn't just inspire for a moment, but strengthens for a lifetime. And if your heart has been moved, if these words have watered a weary place within you, consider taking one step further. Donate, not as obligation, but as an act of alignment. Giving is a spiritual law of motion. It keeps heaven's river flowing. Think of it as sowing into the soil that feeds your soul. Each seed you plant here turns into light that reaches another life, another heart, another destiny waiting in silence. Like the widow's oil that never ran dry, what you pour out in faith returns multiplied in grace. Heaven measures generosity not by the size of the gift, but by the sincerity of the heart. Every act of giving becomes a bridge between you and someone else's breakthrough. We are building something sacred here. Chosen one. This is not just a gathering of words, it's a sanctuary of light. a place where broken souls remember they are beloved, where dreamers rediscover courage, and where faith flows freely without fear. You are part of this creation, not as a bystander, but as a builder. When you participate, when you like, share, subscribe, donate, you are helping light continue to travel beyond you. The same encouragement that reached you will reach another. The same peace that found you will find someone still searching. That's how heaven multiplies through us, one heart, one act, one spark at a time. And never forget, what you do here is not unseen. The God who watched you in secret still sees your every gesture of faith, every click, every word, every prayer whispered. As you listen, He counts it all. You are seen. You are part of a divine pattern unfolding in real time. So, take this moment as a reminder that you matter in the grand design. You're not a spectator, you're a steward of light. Let your actions echo what your spirit already knows. We rise by lifting others, and we are refreshed when we refresh the world. Together, we keep this fire alive, one spark at a time. Chosen one. The hand of God has been shaping you in ways you didn't always understand. The battles, the waiting, the stretching, all of it has been preparation for what is unfolding now. You've walked through valleys where others would have stopped, yet you kept moving, not because you were fearless, but because something deep within whispered, "Keep going, there's purpose in this." End of 4. That whisper was heaven's voice. Every hardship, every tear, every closed door has been divinely calculated to strengthen your foundation. God has been teaching you endurance, molding you into someone who doesn't break under pressure but shines brighter because of it. You are learning that faith isn't avoiding the fire, it's walking through it without losing your flame. The refining hasn't been easy. You've questioned, you've wrestled, you've even doubted. Yet, through it all, something sacred was forming. God was removing fear and replacing it with faith, stripping away confusion and revealing clarity. What looked like loss was actually transformation. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Malachi. Chapter 3, verse 3. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. He will purify the sons of Levi and refine them like gold and silver, so that they may offer to the Lord an offering in righteousness. And this verse is not about punishment, it's about purpose. Refining is heaven's way of proving authenticity. When gold goes into fire, it doesn't scream, it surrenders. The flames don't harm the gold, they reveal its purity. Likewise, your trials were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to display what cannot be burned away, your true, unshakable essence. The fire you faced has made you radiant. You don't react the same anymore. You don't fear what you used to fear. You've grown Kita, wiser, steadier. That is what the refining has done. It's replaced reaction with revelation. What once felt like chaos now feels like clarity. When you look back on your past, you'll begin to notice something remarkable. The very things that almost broke you are the same things that built your strength. Every disappointment forced you to dig deeper into grace. Every heartbreak turned into holy hunger. Every delay became a doorway to deeper wisdom. You were not in the fire alone. The one who sent you into it was also sitting beside you in it. That's the mystery of divine refinement. God is not watching from afar. He's working within the flames, making sure you emerge without the smell of smoke. Chosen one. Your glow has changed. You don't realize it yet. But heaven does. You carry an authority born of survival. You've learned to pray differently, not out of panic but out of peace. You've learned that strength isn't loud, it's steady. The refinement has not only purified your heart, it has sanctified your vision. This is your becoming. The old version of you couldn't carry what's coming next. You had to walk through the heat so heaven could reshape your form. Like clay in the potter's hands, you've been pressed, stretched, and reshaped not to break you, but to perfect you. Every trial had an assignment. The people who misunderstood you, the circumstances that drained you, the seasons that delayed you, they were all chapters in your refining story. And now, as the flames subside, you stand stronger, softer, wiser, glowing with grace. No storm can extinguish. You are not who you used to be. The fear that once ruled you has no place in this new season. The hesitation that once haunted you is gone. You are stepping into your next chapter with a heart that's been tested and proven faithful. But hear this truth: refinement never ends. Every new level of purpose will come with new purification. Each season will demand a greater level of surrender. Don't resist it. Welcome it. Every time the flames rise, they carry you closer to heaven's reflection. Now, if your spirit bears witness to this, if you can feel deep within that this fire has been refining, not ruining you, then respond with a simple act of faith. Comment 444. And that number carries prophetic meaning, divine order, stability, and completion of a cycle. When you write it, you are declaring, the refining is working. I am emerging whole. My steps are aligned with heaven's order. It is your statement of faith that the fire was not for destruction but for destiny. Let this be your declaration tonight. You are not burned, you are bright. You are not broken, you are built. The same God who allowed the flames now commands them to serve your future. Chosen one, rise from the fire, radiant, refined, and ready. The world will see the gold, but heaven will know the process. And that process, though painful, was holy. Chosen one. Have you noticed how every closed door in your life led you somewhere better? Even when it didn't feel that way at first, you prayed for something, worked for it, waited for it, only to see it slip away, and at that moment, it felt like loss. Yet later, when you looked back, you realized it was mercy in disguise. Heaven's redirections rarely make sense in real time. You see only the door that closed. But God sees the fire behind it. What you call disappointment, He calls protection. Every no you received was a shield against what could have destroyed your spirit, distracted your destiny, or diluted your purpose. You didn't fail. You were rerouted. Sometimes, divine love looks like denial. God's no is not rejection, it's redirection toward a yes that fits who you're becoming. The problem is that we often cling to what feels familiar. You prayed for stability, but God knew comfort would keep you small. You wanted certain people to stay, but heaven knew their presence would hinder your growth. So, He allowed endings that felt unfair, but were actually sacred. You may not see it yet, but the very door that slammed shut was the one that saved you. The same pain that made you cry has become the pressure that pushed you into purpose. You were never losing, you were being positioned. We find wisdom in Revelation. Chapter 3. Verse 7, where it is written, "What he opens, no one can shut, and what he shuts, no one can open." When every ending is a message, every silence after a rejection is heaven whispering, "Trust me." You think you're waiting for something new to start, but God is already working in the background, aligning what you cannot see. He is moving people into position, preparing places for your arrival, and softening hearts to recognize your purpose when you show up. You see, divine redirection often disguises itself as disappointment. The breakup that broke you set your heart free from compromise. The lost job that shook you opened the door for your true calling. The opportunity that slipped away made space for what fits your anointing. Every detour has been a design. If God had answered every prayer you prayed in the past, you wouldn't have the strength, wisdom, or peace you carry now. The pain of denial has matured into discernment. You no longer chase what looks good. You wait for what feels right in your spirit. That's how heaven molds warriors out of wanderers. Sometimes the divine plan doesn't unfold linearly. It unfolds like a spiral. You find yourself revisiting old places, old feelings, old lessons. But from a higher perspective, the scenery looks familiar. But you are not the same person who walked that road before. You are wiser now. You can recognize the signs heaven tried to show you last time. You no longer knock on doors that are not yours. The beauty of closed doors is that they force clarity. They make you choose between clinging and trusting. And when you finally let go, heaven breathes again. Freedom is not about having every opportunity. It's about resting in the ones that were meant for you. Every redirection has been prophetic. The path you thought was falling apart has been folding perfectly into alignment. Heaven has been weaving your detours into destiny. You're not behind. You're on time, in a story written by eternity. The closed doors were not meant to punish you, but to purify your desire. God used them to remove what was temporary, so you could make room for what is timeless. The no that hurt was the hammer shaping your character, chiseling your pride, refining your faith. And now, you walk differently. You no longer see delays as disasters, but as divine appointments in disguise. You trust that every stop is preparation, not punishment. You've learned to bless what leaves, to thank God for what ends, and to walk confidently toward what's next. Chosen one. Understand this: when God closes a door, it's not because He's done with you, it's because He's finished with that chapter. He's not saying, "You're unworthy." He's saying, "You're ready for more." You're stepping into rooms designed specifically for your refined spirit, relationships that honor your calling, and opportunities that align with heaven's timing. So don't mourn the door that closed. Celebrate the door that's opening. You don't need to chase it. It's already waiting for you. The right doors recognize the light you carry. They open not because you knock harder, but because you belong there. Trust the hand that closes what you wanted. It's the same hand preparing what you need. Chosen one. The process of becoming rarely looks beautiful while it's unfolding. It's messy, uncomfortable, and full of questions that never seem to have answers. You wonder if you're doing enough, praying enough, or believing enough. But the truth is this: you are right where you're meant to be. The pressure you feel is not punishment. It is preparation. Heaven is shaping your strength, stretching your spirit, and solidifying your purpose. Every season of transformation carries weight, the kind that presses on your chest and tests your endurance. You wake up some mornings feeling as if the world sits on your shoulders, but it is not the world, it's destiny. God is molding your life into something capable of carrying what others cannot. You are being built to hold more glory, more wisdom, and more love than you ever thought possible. This season may feel heavy, but it is holy. Heaven uses pressure to separate the pure from the superficial, the eternal from the temporary. The same fire that refines gold is the fire that exposes impurities. It doesn't come to destroy, it comes to define. Every challenge you're facing right now is part of that divine defining. The Apostle Peter wrote in 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 7, "These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold, though your faith is far more precious than mere gold." Has not, those words are a mirror of your journey. You have been tested not because God doubted you, but because He trusted what He placed inside you. You've been stretched because the promise requires space to expand. You've been pressed because oil only flows from what is crushed. The weight of becoming teaches you things that comfort never could. It reveals the strength you didn't know you had, the patience you didn't know you needed, and the depth of grace you didn't know existed. The things that used to shake you no longer hold power, and the storms that once terrified you now feel like training. You've realized that pain doesn't mean absence, it often means presence, the refining presence of a God who refuses to let you remain small. Every time you thought you were breaking, you were actually breaking open. The pressure was heaven expanding your capacity for blessing. What you thought was the end was actually enlargement. God was stretching you for the weight of new responsibility, teaching you how to handle favor without pride and visibility, without vanity. Becoming isn't glamorous. It's often a quiet wrestling between who you were and who you're called to be. The in-between is the hardest part, the place where old patterns no longer fit, but new ones haven't fully formed. It's the wilderness between the promise and the palace, and it's sacred ground. In that space, heaven strips you of illusions. You learn that success is not applause, but alignment. That progress isn't measured in speed, but in surrender. You discover that true strength isn't control, it's consistency. The weight of becoming doesn't crush those who yield, it only reshapes them. And so, you breathe through the tension, learning to rest even while the pressure mounts. You begin to see that not all pain is punishment. Some pain is prophetic. It speaks of the promise being born, like a woman in labor. The groaning of your soul is the sign that something divine is about to emerge. You are not falling apart. You are delivering destiny. Every tear has purpose. Every sleepless night is sacred. The weight you feel is not random. It is heaven's hand pressing you into alignment with your assignment. You're learning how to carry peace in pressure, how to walk through fire without losing focus, how to speak life even when the air feels heavy. This is mastery born of mercy. And when the season shifts, and it will, you'll realize the pressure was never there to harm you. It was heaven's gym, building endurance for eternity. You'll carry strength quietly, wisdom humbly, and peace unshakably. The heaviness will lift, but the holiness will remain. The weight of becoming is proof that you are trusted. God would not stretch someone He did not plan to use. He would not press one He did not plan to pour out. You are being prepared not for survival, but for significance. The pressure is shaping you into the vessel through which heaven will release healing, clarity, and revival to others. So do not despise this season of heaviness. It is heaven's sculpting. The potter's hand may press hard, but his intention is perfect. When he's finished, you won't just look refined, you'll look like reflection. His reflection, chosen one. Some of the greatest revelations you will ever receive do not arrive in palaces or pulpits. They come in wilderness places. The wilderness has been your classroom. The silence, the stillness, the solitude. It was never random. It was where heaven stripped away distractions so you could finally hear what mattered most. You've been wondering why life pulled you away from people, comfort, and familiarity. It's because God trains his chosen ones in private. The wilderness is not punishment, it's preparation. The noise of the world had to fade so that the whisper of heaven could be heard clearly again. You've cried in secret places, asking, "Why am I here? Why does this feel so endless?" But heaven answers softly, "Because this is where I build your strength." The wilderness doesn't weaken those marked by destiny, it awakens them. You are not lost. You are being located by divine purpose. The voice of God thundered in Deuteronomy, chapter 8, verse 2. Remember how the Lord, your God, led you all the way in the wilderness, these 40 years, to humble and test your heart. Those words hold the secret of your season. The wilderness reveals the truth of your heart. It exposes pride, fear, impatience, everything that cannot go with you into your promise. You thought you were losing everything, but you were actually being purified of everything unnecessary. It's in this isolation that God transforms slaves into sons, wanderers into warriors. It teaches dependence. When you have no one else to lean on, you learn how to lean entirely on Him. When there's no visible way forward, you begin to move by faith instead of sight. That's the beauty of the wilderness. It teaches you how to see with your spirit. Every dry place you've walked through has been sacred ground. Every unanswered prayer was an invitation to trust deeper. Every delay was a design to strengthen your discernment. You were being taught how to stand when there's no applause, how to worship when there's no witness, how to believe when there's no sign. Do not despise this season of obscurity. The wilderness is heaven's university. Moses met God in it. David was shaped by it. Even Jesus was tested within it. The wilderness does not destroy chosen ones. It distinguishes them. It separates the called from the committed, the gifted from the grounded. You may feel like you've been walking in circles, repeating the same tests over and over. But that's how God ensures your readiness. The wilderness doesn't end when you pray harder. It ends when you learn the lesson hidden in the soil of waiting. And once you pass that test, heaven will shift the wind, and the path will open. In the stillness of the wilderness, your ears become trained for whisper-level revelation. You start to recognize divine patterns, the sudden peace that settles your soul, the scripture that seems to leap off the page. The moment you feel a burden lift, for no logical reason, these are heaven's signals, and you only learn to recognize them in isolation. Chosen one. This place of barrenness is not your ending, it's your refining. You are being shaped into someone who cannot be shaken. The wilderness is not where your promise dies, it's where it becomes unshakable. When the silence stretches longer than expected, don't run from it. Sit in it. It's in that holy quiet that God breathes strength into your lungs again. He is teaching you endurance that cannot be borrowed, wisdom that cannot be taught, and peace that cannot be stolen. And when the time comes for you to emerge, you will not just walk out, you will shine out. You'll carry an authority born of survival, an anointing that only comes from walking with God when no one else could see you. Now, if you feel this truth resonating in your chest, if you know this wilderness has been shaping you for something greater, then let your spirit respond. Comment, "I'm ready." And write it not as desperation, but as declaration. When you type those two words, you are announcing to heaven, "The wilderness has taught me what I needed. I've been humbled, purified, and prepared. I'm ready for what's next." And let that comment become your seal of completion. Not that the journey is over, but that you understand it now. You've stopped fighting the wilderness and started walking with it. Because when you finally learn that the wilderness was never meant to break you, but to build you, you step into a peace that even the desert cannot steal. And soon, the same wilderness that tested you will witness your triumph. Chosen one, have you noticed how light travels farther in the dark? It doesn't have to shout, it simply shines. That's what you're becoming now. A steady flame in a world that's forgotten the warmth of truth. You've been refined through solitude and shaped by storms so that your glow could guide others home. God has not just been preparing you for blessings, He's been preparing you for responsibility. You carry something sacred, the ability to comfort others through the same valleys you once crawled through. Your story isn't wasted, it's a map. Every pain you survived has become a pathway for someone else's healing. The beauty of it all, chosen one, is that even your scars shine. They do not disfigure you, they distinguish you. Each one glows softly, proof that what once hurt now heals. When others trace the lines of your story, they'll find roadmaps to their own redemption. Realizing that brokenness was never the end, it was the beginning of becoming whole. The Apostle Paul reminds us in Galatians chapter 6, verse 9, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." That harvest isn't always fame or fortune, it's fruit. It's the quiet fulfillment that grows in hearts you've touched, in lives you've encouraged, in faith you've reignited without even realizing it. Heaven measures success differently. The reward for faithfulness is not applause, it's impact. But the truth is, even torchbearers grow tired. You give, you pour, you show up. Yet sometimes you feel empty. You wonder if what you're doing matters, if your light even reaches beyond the walls of your own struggle. But hear this, every spark matters. The smallest flame can ignite a forest when fanned by the breath of God. When you engage with these messages, when you like, share, subscribe, or support, you're not just helping a voice, you're strengthening a movement. Think of it as tending the fire that has warmed your soul. Every like is a log added to the flame. Every share sends a spark into someone else's darkness. Every subscription keeps the light burning consistently, creating a space where others can come and remember hope. And yes, when you donate, it's more than charity, it's co-creation. You're helping build a lighthouse that stands against the waves of despair. Your giving becomes oil for this lamp. Every seed you sow becomes a story saved, a heart restored, a voice encouraged to keep believing. Heaven multiplies what you give, not in money alone, but in meaning. Picture this, a vast night sky scattered with stars. One star alone cannot light the whole earth. But when each shines in its place, the sky becomes a masterpiece. That's what happens when you participate in this divine exchange. Together, we form a constellation of faith, each act of engagement, another point of light in heaven's pattern. Your support, be it a word, a share, a prayer, or a gift, makes the message travel farther than either of us could ever imagine. Someone across the world might find peace tonight because of the spark you helped sustain. That is divine partnership. What we are building here is not just content, it's communion. It's a sanctuary made of words, a refuge for hearts that don't fit the noise of the world. And your participation breathes life into it. You are not an audience member, you are part of the ministry. You're part of the hands that keep this light alive. Think of generosity like a river. The moment it stops flowing, it begins to decay. But as long as it moves, everything it touches grows. That's how heaven designed, giving not as loss, but as life. When you give, you don't subtract, you circulate grace. You keep faith alive not only in you, but in others. And when you feel uncertain about whether your contribution matters, remember this: even a single candle can cast light for miles in complete darkness. You may never see the faces that your act of kindness touches, but heaven does. The God who called you out of shadows will use even your smallest offering to draw someone else toward the dawn. You are part of a sacred chain, a living current of compassion and truth. Every gesture, every like, every share, every word becomes light in motion. You don't just consume inspiration, you become it. So tonight, let gratitude move through you like breath. Let your engagement be worship. Let your giving be faith in motion. You are not just keeping a message alive, you are keeping miracles in circulation. For light only fulfills its purpose when it's shared. And together, we will keep shining until the last shadow fades. Chosen one, you have reached the stage of the journey where the tests become quieter, yet deeper. The storms that once roared now come as whispers. It's not that life has become easier, it's that you've become stronger. You've learned to recognize that peace is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of stability. You no longer react to every shaking, because you've finally discovered where your true anchor lies. The tests of this season are not meant to break you. They are designed to measure how deeply your roots have grown. You are no longer being tested in your strength, but in your stillness. It's one thing to believe in God when miracles are visible. It's another to believe when He is silent. You are learning to stand, even when heaven does not explain itself. The word recorded in James, chapter 1, verse 4 declares, "Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Oh, that is where you are now standing in the refinement of perseverance. The early trials built your endurance, but this stage is building your depth. Heaven is calling you into maturity, into a faith that no longer needs constant confirmation to remain faithful. You've learned how to walk when the ground feels uncertain, how to hold peace when everything around you trembles. You've stopped demanding explanations and started embracing revelation. The difference between the two is simple. Explanation satisfies the mind, but revelation transforms the heart. Heaven is after your transformation, not your understanding. And though you've walked through fire, you carry no bitterness. Though you've lost much, you carry no despair. That is the miracle of maturity. It converts wounds into wisdom. The same pain that once threatened to destroy you has become the proof of your divine growth. You've learned not to pray for escape, but for endurance. The most profound lessons now come not in shouting, but in stillness. You've learned that sometimes God doesn't calm the storm because He wants to calm you first. He's been teaching you to remain grounded, even when circumstances swirl. The peace you now carry is not fragile, it's fortified. Look at how you've changed. The things that once shook you no longer move you. The opinions that once distracted you no longer define you. You've discovered that your value was never in what others saw, but in what God sealed. The peace you walk in now is not borrowed, it's built. There is a holy calm that surrounds those who have been tested and found faithful. It's the stillness of someone who has seen storms and realized they cannot last forever. You now walk with the quiet authority of someone who has survived what should have broken them. Every trial has become a teacher. Every delay has taught you timing. Every wound has taught you empathy. You now carry the fragrance of compassion because you've been through crushing. You understand pain too well to be careless with another's heart. You know what it means to wait, to weep, to wrestle, and that's what makes your presence healing. Heaven has entrusted you with this serenity because you've proven trustworthy with suffering. God knows you won't waste the lessons that came from your pain. You have learned that power without compassion becomes pride. But power with compassion becomes purpose. That's why your anointing feels different. Now it's quieter, but heavier. It doesn't shout, it settles. You no longer need validation to move. You move because you're led. You no longer seek open doors just to prove you're chosen. You wait for the doors that align with your peace. That's the mark of maturity. You follow direction, not desperation. And though this stage may feel subtle, it is sacred. Heaven always slows things down before promotion. You are standing on the edge of a transition so smooth, it will feel like a sunrise. The darkness will fade gradually. And before you realize it, the light will have completely surrounded you. Don't rush this calm. Let it complete its work. This season is teaching you rest, the kind of rest that cannot be interrupted by anxiety or stolen by fear. You are learning to walk in rhythm with heaven, to trust that nothing truly meant for you will ever miss you. Your maturity is your miracle. You've grown from reaction to revelation, from panic to peace. You now understand that faith doesn't always roar, it sometimes whispers, "I trust you, even here." Obey. So stand still. Chosen one. You have become a living testimony that peace is possible after pain, that stillness is possible after storms, that beauty can be born from battles. You are proof that maturity is not about perfection, it's about presence. Chosen one. The waiting is almost over. You can feel it. Something in your spirit has begun to stir again. The winds are shifting. The atmosphere is changing. And deep inside, you sense that what was once delayed is now aligning. You are standing in the threshold between preparation and fulfillment. And heaven is whispering. Now, the seasons of silence and refining have not been for nothing. Everything you've endured has been leading to this moment of divine synchronization. You may not have seen it happen, but heaven has been arranging the unseen connecting paths, softening hearts, unlocking opportunities that fit your anointing. The clock of destiny has struck in your favor. You are about to witness what happens when divine timing meets divine readiness. All those years when it felt like life was standing still were simply heaven's countdown. Every delay was necessary because the promise you carry required maturity, not haste. God has been aligning your capacity with your calling. It is written in Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." This is your appointed time. Heaven is releasing the next phase of your assignment, not because you begged for it, but because you've become ready for it. Divine timing is never late, it's always layered. What looks sudden to others is never sudden to heaven. You are about to step into the manifestation of prayers that were spoken long ago, when your faith was smaller, but your heart was sincere. Everything begins to make sense in this moment. The closed doors, the detours, the delays, they weren't obstacles, they were orchestration. You were not being denied, you were being aligned. Heaven doesn't work in random patterns, it works in rhythm. And now, your life is matching heaven's melody. When divine timing arrives, it doesn't announce itself loudly, it reveals itself quietly. Like dawn spreading across the horizon, you'll notice it in the way peace settles over your plans, in how people begin to appear with answers you didn't have to chase, in how the things that once resisted you now start to flow. This shift is sacred. It's the moment when all the waiting starts to make sense. You begin to realize that every unanswered prayer was actually an answered one, just not in the form you expected. Heaven was not ignoring you. It was protecting you from premature release. What you carry is precious, and premature exposure would have crushed it. Now, you've grown strong enough to sustain the promise. The soil of your heart is ready to hold the roots of what heaven is about to plant. This is not just a new opportunity, it's a divine unveiling. You will begin to move in clarity, favor, and grace that cannot be explained by logic. It's not luck, it's launch. The people meant for you will begin to find you. The spaces designed for you will begin to open naturally. You won't have to push the doors anymore. They will recognize the key of your obedience and open by themselves. The energy of striving will fade, replaced by the ease of alignment. But hear this, timing is a test of trust. When heaven moves, it moves quickly. Be ready to act in faith. The same spirit that told you to wait will now tell you to walk. Don't second-guess the instruction. Follow the flow. Everything that once resisted you will now assist you. And if this word stirs your spirit, if you feel that shift happening in you, that sense that what was held back is now being released, then respond in faith. Comment 555. And that number represents divine transition and the grace to move forward. When you write it, you're declaring, I'm ready for what's next. I accept heaven's timing. I trust the shift. No, let it be your prophetic act, your agreement with heaven's rhythm, because something powerful happens when faith meets confirmation. Heaven accelerates manifestation. This is not a random season. It is a holy intersection between what you prayed for and what you've become. The waiting refined you. The silence strengthened you. The storms shaped you. And now, everything heaven promised is stepping into visibility. You'll feel the difference. The same effort that once produced little will now multiply easily. What used to drain you will now delight you. People who once ignored you will start to notice, not because you've changed your approach, but because your timing has matured. Chosen one, walk boldly into this new chapter. You are not stepping into something foreign, you are stepping into something familiar to your spirit. This is the season your soul has been rehearsing for all along. The timing is divine. the alignment perfect, and the outcome certain. Heaven is no longer preparing you, it is presenting you. Chosen one. You have walked through the fire, waited through silence, and now you begin to sense a new light rising within you. It's not pride, it's purpose. The glow that others will see is not self-made, it's heaven-made. You are emerging from the shadows carrying an authority that was forged in solitude. The world will look at you and see sudden change. But heaven knows this moment has been years in the making. This emergence is not about being seen, it's about being sent. You were not hidden to be forgotten, you were hidden to be refined for divine assignment. Every season of obscurity was preparation for this unveiling. The lessons you learned in silence have now become the language of your influence. You no longer speak from theory, you speak from testimony. You don't inspire through words alone, you awaken through presence. The book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1 declares, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." Now, that is the anthem of this chapter of your life. You are not waiting for light anymore. You are the light. You've been trained by trials, shaped by surrender, and anointed through adversity. The oil on your life carries the scent of endurance. It tells the world that you did not quit. And because you did not quit, heaven can now trust you with visibility. But remember, emergence is not about performance. It's about purpose fulfilled in humility. True light doesn't seek attention, it attracts transformation. People will begin to notice the peace that follows you, the calm that surrounds you, the wisdom that flows when you speak. They'll call it charisma, but you'll know it's consecration. What you've been through has purified your motives. You don't crave spotlight, you crave significance. You no longer want to be seen, you want to serve. That's how heaven knows you're ready. The platforms that open before you will not be stages, they'll be altars. Each opportunity will be a divine appointment, not for your fame, but for God's revelation through you. Every scar you carry will speak silently. Every healed wound will radiate empathy. The world doesn't need another voice shouting. It needs a presence that carries peace, a vessel that emanates grace. And that's what you've become. The wilderness has turned you into a well. Those who are thirsty will come, not because you advertise, but because you overflow. Don't fear visibility. The same God who hid you will cover you in the light. The same grace that sustained you in the shadows will protect you under the spotlight. You won't need to force open doors. They'll recognize the weight of your anointing and open on their own. This emergence will not feel rushed. It will feel right. Still, be mindful. The enemy of purpose is distraction. When the world begins to notice your glow, it will also try to dim it through noise, opinions, and expectations. Stay anchored in stillness. You are not being elevated to entertain, you are being elevated to enlighten. Let your light remain pure by keeping your heart positioned toward heaven. As you step into this new visibility, humility will become your greatest shield. The more heaven lifts you, the lower you bow in gratitude. The same posture that sustained you in obscurity must now sustain you in exposure. You were trained in secret for this very reason, to remain unshaken when the world begins to see what heaven always knew. The light you carry is not fragile, it's forged. It has been tested in rejection, tempered by patience, and sealed by perseverance. You are stepping into a season where your presence alone will shift atmospheres, People will feel peace when you walk in because you carry heaven's vibration steady, gentle, and powerful. And even as your influence grows, never forget the foundation, your intimacy with God. The power you carry flows from proximity, not performance. Stay close to the source, and your light will never fade. You'll move from moment to movement, from calling to commission, from promise to purpose. This emergence is not just about you, it's about those who will see you and believe that God still transforms. Your story will be their proof. Your glow will be their hope. And through you, heaven will remind the earth that light born from pain burns with compassion, not pride. You are no longer hidden. You are released. Rise gently. Walk humbly. Shine purely, for the time has come, for the glory resting upon you to be seen. Chosen one, now that the light around you begins to grow, you start to recognize something new. The quiet strength within you is not temporary. It's not a rush of inspiration or a burst of emotion. It's a stable power that feels like peace. The storms that once rattled you no longer hold authority. The same situations that used to drain you now meet a different version of you, one grounded, centered, unshakable. You've learned that true power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to prove or persuade. It simply is. The strength now flowing through your spirit is not the product of striving, it's the residue of surrender. It came from trusting God when everything felt uncertain, from staying faithful when nothing made sense, from loving when it was easier to shut down. Every battle you fought in silence has built layers of resilience. You no longer draw strength from adrenaline or emotion, but from revelation. You've realized that your power comes from peace, the kind that cannot be stolen, because it wasn't built by the world. Heaven gave it, and only heaven can sustain it. The book of Psalm, chapter 18, verse 32 declares, "It is God who arms me with strength and makes my way perfect." That is your truth now. You walk differently because you are armed with divine confidence. You don't fear uncertainty because you've already faced worse and survived. You carry the stillness of one who has seen storms and realized they don't last forever. You've discovered that faith is not loud, it's consistent. This is the season of stability. Heaven has anchored you deeply so that when winds come again, and they will, you won't be moved by fear. The old version of you would panic at pressure, the new you praise through it. The old version needed reassurance, the new you moves with assurance. That is transformation. You now understand the weight of responsibility that comes with strength. It's not about domination, it's about discernment. Power misused becomes pride, but power surrendered becomes purpose. God didn't strengthen you to tower over others, He strengthened you to lift them. You are becoming the steady hand in someone else's storm, the quiet presence that reminds them peace is possible even here. You've learned to guard your energy, not out of selfishness, but out of stewardship. You know that not everyone deserves access to your calm. Peace is precious, and you've paid for yours with pain. You no longer chase chaos disguised as connection. You walk away, not in arrogance, but in awareness. You finally understand that saying no can be holy. This new strength carries gentleness within it. It's not about being unbreakable, it's about knowing how to bend without losing form. You've learned how to pause without giving up, how to feel deeply without drowning, how to lead without controlling. That's divine maturity, firm but flexible, strong but surrendered. There's a sacred balance now flowing through your life. You no longer overextend trying to prove your worth. You've realized that stillness is strategy, not stagnation. You are learning to wait on heaven's cue before moving. The peace you carry is your compass. It tells you when to act, when to rest, when to speak, and when to stay silent. Look how far you've come. You once measured strength by how much you could endure. Now you measure it by how quickly you return to peace. You've stopped glorifying exhaustion and started honoring balance. You've discovered that sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is rest. The light within you no longer flickers, it burns steady. You don't fear dimming because you know the source is infinite. You've found your rhythm with heaven, and now your life moves in harmony with divine flow. This is what it means to be established, not driven by external validation, but sustained by internal revelation. There is a calm power in your presence now. People feel it before you speak. They can sense the authority of one who has walked through fire and come out radiant. They won't always understand it, but they'll feel it, a peace that surpasses understanding, a quiet that carries weight. You have become living proof that strength and softness can coexist, that confidence and humility can live in the same heart. You are not fragile anymore. You are fortified. The cracks that once leaked pain now leak light. You've become a vessel heaven can trust because you've learned how to remain steady in seasons of both increase and invisibility. This new strength is not for show, it's for stewardship. Heaven didn't build it for display, it built it for destiny. You carry an inner solidity now, a groundedness that the world cannot shake. It is the result of divine craftsmanship, the finishing touch of years spent being shaped by unseen hands. Walk with that quiet power. Chosen one, let it be your language, your ministry, your mark. Because strength like yours isn't loud, it simply transforms everything it touches. Chosen one. What you carry now is no longer potential, it is power in motion. You've been refined. You've been reshaped. And now heaven trusts you to release what it has poured into you. Your light is not meant to stay still, it's meant to travel, to heal, to awaken. You've become like a lantern in a world that has forgotten dawn. The gift of your light is that it multiplies when shared. You don't lose brightness by giving, you amplify it. Every word you speak in faith becomes a spark in another's darkness. Every act of kindness becomes a ripple across unseen waters. Every truth you share is a seed of transformation planted in soil you may never walk upon. As written in Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16, "Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." This is what your journey has been building toward, not visibility for yourself, but glory for the one who formed you. You are heaven's mirror, reflecting divine goodness through the simplest gestures. When you encourage, when you forgive, when you uplift, heaven shines through you. That's why this moment matters. Not just for you, but for everyone who crosses your path. When you like this message, think of it as lighting another candle beside yours. Each flame connects with another until the whole room glows brighter. It's not just an action, it's agreement. You're saying, "I will not let this light die here." When you share, imagine it as tossing a stone into still water. The ripples extend far beyond your sight. You may never know who your action reaches, someone weary, someone searching, someone moments away from giving up, but your gesture becomes a message that says, Hold on. The dawn is near. When you subscribe, you are not joining a platform. You are joining a fellowship of light bearers. Each message that reaches you is a reminder that you are not alone in your calling. It's an ember of encouragement sent to keep your spirit burning when the world grows cold. Staying connected keeps the current of faith flowing both ways. And when you donate, do it not out of obligation, but out of overflow. Think of it as watering a tree that has given you shade. The fruit you've received here, the hope, the comfort, the strength came from seeds others once sowed. Your giving is the next chapter of that cycle. Every gift sustains the light, fuels its reach, and ensures that hope continues to travel where it's needed most. You may not see where every seed lands, but heaven does. Your generosity doesn't vanish, it multiplies. Each contribution becomes a bridge between despair and deliverance, carrying words like these to the ones still lost in their wilderness. You are not just supporting a message, you are participating in a mission. Your presence here is proof that divine timing works. You didn't stumble upon these words by accident, you were led. Every connection formed through these messages is an invisible thread of grace, weaving hearts together across distance and circumstance. Together, we are forming a tapestry of faith, one that covers the earth in light unseen yet deeply felt. And when you comment, do not just write words, release truth. Share what resonates, what stirs your soul, what you've learned on your own path. Your story might be the confirmation someone else prayed for. When you speak from authenticity, heaven breathes through your testimony. Perhaps type something as simple as, "Light lives here." Because when you write it, you're not just commenting, you're declaring. You're saying, "This space carries the light of heaven, and I choose to keep it shining." And each word you offer becomes part of a greater echo. Each action you take extends the reach of this divine conversation. Together, we're proving that light travels fastest when carried by many hands. You see, this isn't just a page, it's a living altar. Every visit, every word, every act of kindness is incense rising upward, the fragrance of faith in motion. What you do here today ripples into eternity, reaching places and people far beyond what we can see. So, let gratitude guide your giving, love guide your sharing, and purpose guide your presence. The light that found you here is meant to keep moving through your life. Your words, your choices, let it continue its journey through you. For in the end, the most powerful donation you can give is not just money, it's participation, it's heart, it's staying connected to the mission of light until the whole world glows again. And when you act from that place of genuine faith, heaven takes notice. It always does. Chosen one, when heaven refines a vessel, it never does so for its beauty alone. It shapes you so that through you, the divine message can move freely. By now, you've come to understand that your journey has always been about more than your survival. It's been about your transformation into a messenger. You are no longer just receiving revelation, you are becoming revelation. Every hardship that once silenced you has now become your story's melody. Every scar, every delay, every unanswered prayer, they are all verses in a song only you can sing. Heaven doesn't waste pain, it converts it into prophecy. What once made you weep now gives your words weight. The power in your voice is not performance, it's proof. Your anointing isn't loud, but it is unmistakable. You've walked through valleys most people fear to enter, and you emerged carrying light. That experience alone has marked you. You are not simply someone who knows about God. You are someone who has walked with Him. You've seen His faithfulness in the fire and felt His presence in the silence. That authenticity makes you unshakable. The ancient words in Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 9, capture your moment perfectly. Then the Lord reached out His hand and touched my mouth and said to me, I have put my words in your mouth. Oifa, this is your calling. Your very life has become heaven's instrument. The lessons you've lived are not meant to stay within you. They're meant to speak through you. Every time you open your mouth in truth, you become a voice of divine reassurance for those who have forgotten hope. You don't need a platform or a title. Your authenticity is your pulpit. Your presence is your sermon. You are being positioned to reach people not through grand gestures, but through gentle resonance. The world is drawn not to your perfection, but to your peace. When you walk into rooms, heaven walks in with you. You are the message in motion, the living reminder that God still writes redemption stories in real time. Your words, whether spoken aloud or written quietly, now carry weight. The air around you shifts when you speak with love, with wisdom, with compassion. People may not know why, but they will feel peace. That is the evidence of your calling. The Spirit within you is no longer just comforting you, it's now comforting others through you. You've entered the season where your life itself will preach, not through rehearsed phrases, but through the way you endure, forgive, and keep moving forward. The way you live will inspire those who have lost the will to try without knowing it. You've become a walking altar, a place where heaven meets humanity. Every messenger of God must carry both message and mercy. You've been trained in both. Mercy gives your truth its tone, turning authority into compassion. That is why people will trust what you say. They'll sense the heart behind it. Your voice doesn't crush, it restores. It doesn't boast, it blesses. And though you may still doubt your readiness, remember, heaven doesn't call the flawless, it calls the faithful. You've already proven your faithfulness in the unseen years, and now heaven will amplify your voice in the visible ones, not for fame, but for function. You are not here to impress, you are here to impact. This is how heaven's messengers move. They walk softly, but carry strength. They speak gently, but release truth that pierces deception. You are stepping into that mantle now. Every word, every gesture, every act of love will become a bridge between despair and destiny for someone else. But remember this, the weight of being a messenger is balanced by intimacy. The same God who sends you out also calls you back to His presence. Never confuse assignment with relationship. The message will always flow best when you remain close to the source. There will be moments when you'll feel the divine urgency to speak, to act, to move. Don't hesitate. That's heaven prompting you. You'll recognize the difference between your impulse and divine instruction, because the latter comes with peace, never pressure. When heaven speaks through you, it feels like breath, not burden. And when you witness the ripple of your obedience, when you see eyes soften, hearts open, or peace return to a weary soul, you'll realize the truth. All your waiting, all your suffering, All your wilderness seasons led to this. You were never meant to merely survive. You were meant to speak life. Chosen one. Your time as the hidden vessel has ended. You are now heaven's living message. The echo of God's faithfulness wrapped in human form. Let your presence testify of His goodness, your story of His mercy, and your peace of His power. For you are no longer just chosen, you are sent. Chosen one. You've reached the edge of what was once your wilderness, the long nights, the unanswered prayers, the quiet refining. All of it has led you here. You are standing in the dawn of destiny. And though the sun has not yet fully risen, the horizon already glows with promise. The hardest part of your journey was not the pain, it was the patience, yet you endured it. And because of that, heaven now entrusts you with peace that cannot be shaken. This is the stage where you realize that victory doesn't always arrive with noise. Sometimes it comes quietly, like morning light seeping through the cracks of a closed window. You open your eyes and realize you're no longer who you were. The bitterness has been replaced with understanding, the fear with faith, the confusion with calm. What you once begged God to remove, you now thank Him for, because it made you unbreakable. The final lesson of your preparation is simple, yet sacred. Peace is not something you find, it's something you become. After everything you've walked through, your spirit has learned to rest even in motion, to breathe even in the fire, to trust even in uncertainty. You've learned that divine stability is not built by escaping chaos, but by carrying stillness within it. The words of Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6, echo this truth. Being confident of this, that He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. And this is not the end of your story, it's the unveiling of your next chapter. Heaven never leaves its work unfinished. The same God who called you, refined you, and protected you will continue to unfold His plan with precision. You no longer need to chase destiny, it's already chasing you. You've become someone different now. Your heart no longer rushes to be seen. Your mind no longer fights for control. You move with quiet authority, knowing that what is yours cannot be stolen, and what is not yours will never satisfy. This is divine maturity, the peace that surpasses understanding, born not from ease, but from endurance. And now, heaven is releasing you into the world, not as the same person who entered the fire, but as the one who came out shining. You've learned that true power does not shout, it radiates. You've become a living testament that surrender is stronger than struggle, and that obedience carries more weight than ambition. The world around you may not recognize the depth of what God has done in you, but that's fine. This stage of your journey isn't about recognition, it's about revelation. Those who are meant to encounter your light will find you without your striving. Divine timing will continue to align the right people, the right places, and the right purpose. You won't have to prove, you'll simply be. Every tear that once fell in silence has become a seed in heaven's garden. You'll soon see flowers blooming in places that were once barren. The peace you carry will begin to manifest outwardly in relationships, in opportunities, in moments of unexpected joy. What felt lost will return in ways you couldn't imagine, not as repetition, but as restoration. Understand this, your life has become a temple of transformation. Everything you've endured has sanctified your steps. Every scar now glows with meaning. The pain that once humbled you has prepared you to walk in authority without arrogance. You are now both soft and strong, gentle yet grounded, humble yet powerful. You are heaven's paradox, a soul that has known breaking yet walks unbroken. That is your divine identity. You are no longer merely surviving, you are sustained. No longer searching, you are sent. The light within you has matured. It no longer flickers from emotion, but burns from revelation. As you move forward, you'll begin to live not from pressure, but from presence. You'll realize that you don't need to force doors open anymore. Your peace will be the key that unlocks them. You'll stop fighting for position and start walking in purpose. You'll stop asking for signs, because you've become the sign, a living witness that God's promises still stand. The coming days will bring clarity. You will understand why certain things took so long and why others ended abruptly. The pattern will make sense because heaven's design always reveals itself in hindsight. You'll see that every detour was direction. Every delay was development. Every heartbreak was holy. Chosen one. The preparation is complete. You have become what heaven always intended, a vessel of peace, a carrier of light, a reflection of grace. Wherever you go from here, you will not just bring change, you will be the change. The same fire that once tested you now fuels you. And as you walk forward, remember, you were never just chosen for blessing. You were chosen to become a blessing. Every step you take will echo the glory of a God who finishes what he starts. Chosen one. If these words have found a home in your spirit, then you already know this wasn't coincidence. It was confirmation. You were meant to hear this. Meant to remember who you are. Meant to feel heaven stirring again within you. You've walked through your wilderness. You've endured your refining. And now, you stand radiant, no longer hidden, but chosen to shine. Every chapter we've walked together was written for your awakening. And if this message has rekindled something deep inside you, let that spark move. Like this message as a way of saying, I receive the light. Every like becomes an ember that helps this flame reach others still standing in the dark. Share it, not as content, but as calling somewhere. Someone is still questioning if they're seen, if they're loved, if God remembers them. Your share might be the moment heaven answers them through these words. Comment, not just to engage, but to affirm. Write something simple that comes from your heart. Maybe, I am chosen, or the light lives in me. Let it echo through this space as a declaration of identity and unity. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, not to follow a voice, but to stay connected to a rhythm of hope. Each word that reaches you here is a reminder that heaven still speaks in this generation, and you are part of the ones meant to listen, carry, and spread that light forward. Because this isn't just a message, it's a movement, a gathering of lights across the world. Each one shining where it stands. Each one proof that God still prepares his chosen in secret before revealing them in glory. So stay close, stay awake, and keep the flame alive. The world needs your glow,